Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Ernest Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. One of the Cinderella stars from this past college basketball season has transferred to a new program because former Oakland forward Trey Townsend, he is committed to the Arizona Wildcats. I'm going to go over how important of an addition this is for the Arizona Wildcats and whether Trey Townsend will be able to help Arizona be a fantastic team again next season in a tough Big 12, because that's one of the things that's going to be very interesting for Arizona is that they're no longer in the Pac-12 where they were one of the best teams in the league year in and year out, because a lot of teams in the Pac-12 were just not that good. Now they're going to be in the Big 12, which a lot of people think is the toughest basketball conference, and they're going to need a lot of talented players to join their program. And Trey Townsend, he was well known this past season in the NCAA tournament for what he did in helping the Oakland Golden Grizzlies knock off the Kentucky Wildcats in the round of 64. And even though Jack Goldkey got all the attention for knocking down those 10 threes to knock off Kentucky, if it wasn't for Trey Townsend as well, they would not have been able to win that game. It kind of reminds me of that dynamic between Max Amos and Kevin O'Banner at Oral Roberts that year that they made the Sweet 16. But then the next season, when Oral Roberts did not have Kevin O'Banner because he transferred to Texas Tech and they only had Max Amos, they were not able to advance that season against the Duke Blue Devils because Duke was able to shut down Max Amos. I don't think Kentucky would have lost to Oakland if they just had to deal with Jack Goldkey. They had to deal with Trey Townsend as well, and he was able to work against the trees that Kentucky had down low, scoring the basketball at a high level. And he was the Horizon Player of the Year this past season, and he was a highly coveted player in the portal for his final season in college basketball. Michigan, Louisville, and Ohio State were all programs that were looking for his services, but Arizona ended up winning out in the end. And he is 6'6", 228 pounds, so he is a little bit undersized for a power forward, but he is fantastic in the weight room, and he's able to bully guys down low, which helped him have a lot of success at Oakland. But he's going to have to find a way to have more versatility to his game being with Arizona next season, because being in the Big 12, there's a lot of tall players, and they're probably going to give him fits down low. He's got to at least be able to be kind of like KJ Adams for Kansas, where he is flexible and is able to move all around the floor. And I think Trey Townsend might be able to do that because he's actually a bit more dynamic of a player in certain areas than KJ Adams, because he does have a little bit of three-point shooting to his game as well. And if you look at what he has done at Oakland throughout the 4 years, he averaged 8 points per game as a freshman. Then he upped it to 13 points per game as a sophomore. And then in his past 2 seasons, he averaged 16 points per game and 17 points per game for Oakland. He averaged a career-high 8 boards this past year and 3 assists. So he got better at passing the ball as well, which is going to be big if he wants to go off to the NBA. And he shot 78% at the line. So it shows that he has nice touch shooting the ball. He only shot 45% from the field. You would like him to be more efficient at that, considering he did play down low most of the time at Oakland. But still, that is something that you can look over. And when you look at the reason he's not in the NBA, because you could say, well, if he has three-point shooting to his game, being a 38% three-point shooter, why hasn't the NBA called for his services? Well, he doesn't shoot a high volume of threes. He only shot 32 threes this past season, and he made 12 of them. So he is a part of his game. And as a junior, he shot 20 of 52 from three, but he doesn't shoot them on a regular basis. And he's going to have to shoot them at a more consistent rate if he's going to be able to go off to the NBA, because that is what he wants to do. And he actually has declared for the draft, and he still is going to be going through that process. So Arizona is going to have to wait on him to decide whether he's going to come back to college basketball or stay in the NBA. But I don't really think that's going to be a problem, because I don't see him keeping his name in the NBA draft. So I think Arizona should be fine in that regard. And this is what Trey Townsend said to ESPN. He said, Arizona checked all the boxes I was looking for during this process. I look forward to getting to Tucson and playing for Coach Tommy Lloyd, who has a proven track record of producing NBA players similar to me. And Arizona definitely needed a player like him to commit, because even though the Wildcats had a good season this past year, making the Sweet 16 before they lost to the Clemson Tigers, Arizona's losing a ton of players from this past season's squad. Keyshawn Johnson, the power forward from this past year's Arizona team that transferred in from San Diego State, he's out of college eligibility, so there was nothing Arizona could do there. But some of their other players that were really solid for the Wildcats this past season, including Kylan Boswell and Umar Ballo, they're both gone, and they've transferred into the Big Ten. Kylan Boswell's gone back to his home state with Illinois, and Umar Ballo transferred to Indiana. So that's very tough for Arizona, because those were starting players for the Wildcats, and they had big roles on the team. And even though Tommy Lloyd gave him a bunch of minutes, unfortunately for Arizona, that's just the day and age we live in the portal. You can have a guy starting, playing 30 minutes a game, and it seems like they're happy in your offense, but then they just up and leave anyways. So there's just nobody on your team that is guaranteed to stay during an offseason, and Arizona is getting the brunt of it in this offseason, losing some key players. They're losing 5 players in total to the transfer portal, but the only thing that does help alleviate some of the losses is that Arizona is bringing in a really good recruiting class, including top 25 prospects in Carter Bryant and Joseph Sannon. I talked about Joseph Sannon a while back when he committed to Arizona. He's going to be a really good player for the Wildcats. He is reclassifying, so we'll have to see if he's able to adjust to the college game, but I do believe that both those players will be solid for Arizona. But you can't just rely on freshmen. We've seen with Kentucky, with John Calipari, and even Duke recently with Coach K and John Shire that it's very tough to win with just a lot of talented freshmen because so many teams have a lot of experienced players. So Arizona cannot be done in the transfer portal. They're going to have to bring in some more experience onto the roster, depending on what some of these other players do. Jaden Bradley and KJ Lewis, they should be back for Arizona. They haven't really said anything yet, but that would give the Wildcats some experience, especially with Jaden Bradley. And Caleb Love, that's the big one. Whether he comes back to college basketball or goes off to the NBA is going to be huge for Arizona. If he comes back, then that will give Arizona a key player in the backcourt. So they're not going to have to look for a dynamic guard in the backcourt if Caleb Love returns. But if Caleb Love leaves, then Arizona is going to have to do everything they possibly can to look hard in the transfer portal for some more guards. And definitely they're going to have to look at a center to try to be able to replace Umar Ballo. I know Arizona's got some other talented players in that freshman class, but you just don't want to rely on them. So Arizona, I think they're still in decent shape for next season. They've got some talented players coming into the program. They got some decent players still on the team, but they're not going to be in the Big 12 going up against Houston and Kansas and all those type of teams, Baylor as well. It's not going to be easy. So Tommy Lloyd's got a lot of pressure on him to field a great squad for next season in Arizona's first year in the Big 12. But Trey Townsend, as long as he doesn't go off to the NBA, which I do not think that he will, he's going to be a good addition for the Arizona Wildcats. He was a star at Oakland, and it's tough sometimes for players to be able to translate their success at a smaller school to a bigger school, but Trey Townsend's game is versatile. He can shoot threes a little bit. I think he needs to find a way to incorporate that more into his game next season at Arizona. He's a bully down low, even though it's going to be tough for him to deal with all the bigs in the Big 12. I think he should be okay for the most part in that department, and if he continues to improve his game, we might be seeing Trey Townsend in the NBA eventually after his final season in college basketball at Arizona. It's a great pickup for Tommy Lloyd, and I think it's a good move for Trey Townsend as well to be able to showcase his abilities at the highest stage in the game in college basketball, and Arizona definitely needed his services, and now the Wildcats are going to have to find a way to be able to add a couple more quality players in the transfer portal so they'll be able to compete at a high level in the Big 12 next season. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about Trey Townsend, the Cinderella star from the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, decision to transfer to the Arizona Wildcats, and whether you believe that he will be a fantastic addition for Arizona next season, and what you think that Tommy Lloyd's going to have to continue to do in the transfer portal to help Arizona be a good team again next season in their first year in the Big 12. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.